Now, ideally, most movies will have a setup that doesn't immediately have you questioning the internal logic of the entire story, or, in the very least, groaning with contempt at how mind-meltingly idiotic the central characters actually are. And while audiences will generally forgive a clunky, labored opening if the rest of the movie justifies it, sometimes the instigating incident is so thunderously stupid that you just can't stop thinking about it, perhaps even long after the end credits have rolled. And that's totally true of the films we're talking about today, which, regardless of how entertaining some of them might be, are defined by a central character's head-scratching behavior at the very beginning. I'm Ewan, welcome back to Whatculture, and here are just a few movies that were kickstarted by utter stupidity. Eating a Snickers bar in a lab. Jurassic World Rebirth. Jurassic World Rebirth may not be the worst film in the series, but it does sure tout the stupidest inciting incident of any of the movies that we've had so far. The movie opens in 2008, which feels like a weirdly specific year, I don't know, when InGen is operating a secret dinosaur research lab on the remote island of Île Saint-Hubert. But all hell soon breaks loose, resulting in the mutant dino, Disastrous Rex. Really? It's his name? Disastrous Rex? You know, this series used to mean something. As I was saying, the mutant dino escapes confinement, all because one of the lab's scientists decided to eat a Snickers bar in the middle of his shift. The scientist in question carelessly drops the bar's wrapper on the floor, where it gets sucked into a vent on one of the massive blast doors containing the Disastrous Rex, causing it to fail and somehow compromise the entire facility. And you know, this allows the Disastrous Rex to massacre the scientists and escape. Even ignoring the groan-worthy product placement involved here, it's just a resoundingly lame and ridiculous way to kick off a Jurassic Park movie. It doesn't even make sense as a Snickers advert either, like, have a Snickers, endanger your co-workers, which, yeah, is gonna be the case if said colleagues have a deathly peanut allergy, but still, weird, bad, you know? It's a crying shame that Jurassic Park has a monopoly on, like, dinosaur movies, because us dino freaks, we deserve better. Next up, picking up a bloody knife, Taken 3. The Taken franchise had well and truly reached self-parody territory by its third, and to date, final installment. And this is evidenced no better than by the hilariously flimsy means through which Liam Neeson's former CIA operative Brian Mills finds himself deploying his special set of skills one last time. The plot sees Brian framed for the murder of his ex-wife Lenore, played by Famke Janssen, after he returns home, picks up a bloody knife, and then discovers her corpse on the bed mere seconds before the cops show up and catch him in the act. But it's kind of tough to accept that Brian, an almost comically smart and capable action movie guy, would so easily fall victim to such a boneheaded frame-up attempt by picking up a bloody knife and just leaving his fingerprints all over it. I don't know about you, if I see a bloody knife out in the wild, I'm not gonna go, ooh, like Kyle MacLachlan in Blue Velvet with the ear. I'm gonna look at that thing and go, that sure does look like a bloody knife, not gonna go near that. But you know, that's just me. I could be the weird one here, who knows? But yeah, obviously without his prints on the knife, it would be much easier for Mills to claim that he literally just entered the property and found Lenore dead, rather than being implicated. Brian's lack of foresight here runs counter to basically everything we learn about him in the first two Taken movies, and makes for a rather dopey setup to an appropriately naff thriller sequel. Next up, not lowering the boat's ladder. Open Water 2, Adrift. Unlike our first bunch of idiots on this list, at least the characters of Open Water 2 Adrift aren't uber-qualified professionals who should know a lot better. They're just regular guys who might plausibly do something dumb, as regular guys tend to do. But even so, there's something deeply idiotic about a group of 6 friends who take a yacht out for a cruise, only to all jump into the ocean without a single one of them remembering to lower the boat's ladder. This leaves the group stranded in the drink for the entirety of the movie, desperately treading water as they fear that sharks may be attracted to their position. Although the group doesn't actually encounter any sharks, what follows is a borderline comedy of errors where the group's continually poor decision-making results in most of them dying in one way or another. Like, Final Destination, if everyone was just, an idiot and there wasn't a grand cosmic force trying to kill them. While it's fair to say that most yachts in real life have a safety mechanism which allows the ladder to be lowered from outside the boat, the fact that not a single member of the group questioned how they'd be getting back on board is absolutely hog wild. On the way, Jerry's entire plan. Fargo. Now, in the case of the Coen brothers' riotous black comedy Fargo, Jerry Lundegaard's scheme is absolutely supposed to be pure cockamamie nonsense. That's no failing of the script, it's very much the intention, and William H. Macy pulls it off with aplomb. He's just such a good actor. Okay, so where do I even begin here? Well, the guy intends to stage his own wife's kidnapping in order to extort his father-in-law for a large sum of money. Hires two violently unpredictable goobers to do the job, and then lies to them about the actual ransom amount. All this causes the bodies to start piling up. The kidnappers then try to extort Jerry for more money as the net tightens around him, and being a terrible liar and all, he's unsurprisingly arrested by the end of the film. Oh, and to make his failed scheme even worse, Jerry's wife Jean, played by Kristen Rudrud, ends up being killed by one of the kidnappers, played by the always brilliant Peter Stormare. Oh yeah, oh no. Again, the stupidity of Jerry and the other criminals is very much the point here, and Fargo just wouldn't be the same movie if they were even halfway competent. A classic of the 90s, and just maybe the best Coen brothers movie ever made? Let me know if you agree down in the comments. On the way, freeing infected animals. 28 days later. The events of 28 Days Later, and therefore the entire franchise, are set in motion when a group of animal rights activists break into a lab and attempt to free a group of imprisoned chimpanzees. So far, so ethical, because, we all want to save the apes, right? I didn't sit through all those Planet of the Apes movies to think that I wouldn't save some apes. I'll save an ape if I have to. We all would. But the activists of 28 Days Later are single-minded enough in their goal that they refuse to listen to the scientist who catches them in the act, warning them that the chimps are infected with a highly contagious disease which can be transmitted from even just a drop of blood or saliva. The activists continue with their mission, resulting in a rage-infected chimp immediately going and, infecting one of them, in turn causing the infection to spread and lead to the entire outbreak that we see later in the movie. Glad I got to do a little ape moment there, it's really fun. Next up, driving recklessly while under the influence. Misery. Now, not to victim blame here, but it's not unfair to say that Misery's protagonist, Paul Sheldon, played by the late great James Caan, really doesn't do himself any favors at all at the start of the movie. Okay, so for one, Paul pops a bottle of champagne after finishing his latest novel, and though we only see him drink one glass of bubbly, it seems highly unlikely he would leave his hotel without, finishing off the bottle. It is a Dom Perignon after all. Stephen King's source novel is far more explicit about the fact that Paul drives drunk, but in the very least, he's definitely tipsy on the big screen as he begins the long drive from Colorado to New York City. Beyond this, the guy doesn't put snow tires on his car and then takes one hand off the wheel to stop the satchel containing his manuscript from sliding off the passenger seat during a treacherous turn. But considering that all the manuscript pages are all safely secured within the satchel, it seems rather silly to take a hand off the wheel to stop the manuscript from, just moving. I get it, it's your baby, you're protective over it, but come on now, dude, it's not going anywhere. Now obviously this causes Paul to crash his car, after which he's held captive and very nearly killed by obsessive fan and psychopath Annie Wilkes, played by an amazing Kathy Bates. But oh, how easily this could have been avoided. Again, we're all flawed. This isn't a critique of quote-unquote illogical behavior or whatever, because let's be real, we're all prone to being really dumb when the occasion calls for it. But yeah, I mean, poor Paul. Bad decisions can lead to really bad consequences. Next up, using a sword to open a champagne bottle. Bodies, bodies, bodies. From one champagne problem to another now. The big hilarious twist in murder mystery Bodies, Bodies, Bodies is that the group's initial victim, David, played by Pete Davidson, wasn't actually murdered by having his throat cut with a short sword. Nope, at the very end of the story, we learn that David's death was a pure freak accident that occurred when he tried to use the sword to open a bottle of champagne for a TikTok video, cutting his own throat in the process and swiftly bleeding out. I mean, we say freak accident, but it's hardly an unforeseeable outcome that messing around with a sharp weapon could, end in total disaster like this. But because no one actually witnesses David's death, everyone more understandably jumps to the conclusion that he was killed, leading to a veritable bloodbath as the group grows increasingly suspicious of everyone else. And yet, had David just opened the bottle like a normal freaking guy and not been so preoccupied with touting for attention on social media, no one would have died. On the way, waking up King Ghidorah. Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Midway through Godzilla, King of the Monsters, we learn that Dr. Emma Russell, played by Vera Farmiga, is a secret villain, having been covertly working with the very eco-terrorists who kidnapped her earlier in the film. Russell ultimately reveals that her plan all along has been to reawaken the Titans, amid the belief that their radiation can be used to replenish the damage to Earth's ecosystem caused by humanity. I'm like, yeah, what problem in humanity's history hasn't been solved with more radiation? Yeah, great strategy, Doc. She also intends to use a device called the Orca to control the Titans and allow humans to coexist with them. Which, I see the vision. Just going out and about to the big Tesco, and you just see Rodan flying all over the gaff. That'll be really fun. That could be nice. I want to see a bit of Rodan out and about, a little bit of King Ghidorah, as long as he doesn't, eat me. But yeah, even ignoring the lunacy of this entire idea, Russell's big mistake lies in awakening the biggest, baddest titan of them all. Monster Zero, aka King Ghidorah, who doesn't have much interest in cohabiting with humanity on Earth and can't be easily controlled by the subwoofer they've designed to try and manipulate his movements. For a supposedly super smart scientist, Dr. Emma Russell was a Hall of Famer idiot in this movie, and her heroic choice to sacrifice herself to ensure Ghidorah's destruction is basically like the bare minimum. She's really dumb. On the way, not just making another email account, Eurotrip. It's a testament to how absurdly entertaining Eurotrip is that it's still so much fun despite featuring one of the most flaccid setups in the history of the sex comedy, or really any movie in the quasi-modern world. Teenager Scotty, played by Scott Malkowitz, decides to set off on a road trip to Berlin after realizing that his German pen pal Mika, who he believed to be a man, is actually an incredibly attractive woman played by Jessica Boers. You see, the previous night, a drunken Scott was coaxed into believing that Mika was a male sexual predator, and so sent him an email telling him to leave him alone. Yet upon realizing the truth that, oh no, they're really hot, Scott finds that Mika has blocked his account, apparently making it impossible for him to contact her, prompting him to visit Europe to try and track her down. Except Scotty, my guy, why not just, make another email account and contact her that way? I mean, I know you kind of overcome with lust, but there are steps here. Scott could have just explained that the previous message was written by his idiot kid brother, and he would have saved himself a whole lot of time, effort, and money solving the problem. Granted, Scott's absurd oversight did result in one hell of a crazy adventure across Europe, culminating in him actually getting together with Mika. The power of horniness, am I right? And to wrap things up, we have ignoring every single red flag. Creep 2014. And finally, we have the found footage film Creep, which is admittedly wholly concerned with how a combination of economic anxiety and a deep desire not to be rude caused the death of videographer protagonist Aaron, played by Patrick Bryce. Even so, Aaron ignores an unforgivable laundry list of red flags when it comes to taking a job for eccentric client Joseph, played by Mark Duplass. As if meeting him at a remote cabin and seemingly not telling anyone where he's going, isn't bad enough, he continually entertains Joseph's incredibly alarming, indeed creepy behavior out of desperation to keep his job. Granted, Aaron is depicted as being overpoweringly naive from the start of the film to the very grim end, where he again agrees to meet up with Joseph, who promptly murders him with a big old axe. Most street-smart, world-weary people would absolutely let someone else know where they were going, and more to the point, nope the hell out of there once Joseph started acting all, Joseph-y. Ironically though, Aaron's misguided belief that Joseph was ultimately harmless is what leads Joseph to consider him his favorite victim in the final scene. It's kind of really darkly ironic. Anyway, bad decisions all around. It's not a good time. If you're a videographer, keep away from the creepy people. That's my advice.